Watches are a very subjective thing, with people having different styles, tastes and preferences, from small, classy and elegant to big, bulky and sporty. There's of course a watch for anyone. However, today we're talking about 12 well-known watches that almost everyone loves, even if they wouldn't wear one themselves. Without wasting any time though, let's get into watch 1, which I'm sure is a surprise to absolutely no one, the Tissot PRX. Now the Tissot PRX is well loved for its sporty and classy integrated bracelet that has some of the best finishing for the price range of $730, as well as the fact it's a Swiss automatic movement and a quite lovely waffled sunburst dial. As well as this, the brand name is great for the price range, having a long history since its creation in 1853. And another interesting thing to know is that the Tissot PRX is actually based on the Tissot Sea Star from the 1970s, and that PRX stands for P, precise, R, robust, and X for the Roman numeral of 10, standing for its 10 bar or 100 meters of water resistance. The second watch we're talking about today is the Omega Speedmaster Professional. No surprises there, of course, but I do actually seem to see some people almost bored of this watch just because of how often it is mentioned being so iconic and beloved. But it has such an interesting history. I mean, the Speedmaster was actually launched in 1957, but its fame wasn't until 1965 when NASA qualified it for use on its piloted missions, where it then became part of official kit being worn on all 6 lunar landings, earning it the nickname the Moonwatch. I also think it's beloved as it's so timeless. I mean, it's basically not changed since its inception and has been basically the go-to big brand chronograph in the price range for a long time now. Moving swiftly onto the third watch for today though, we have the all-beloved Casio F91W. Initially launched in 1991, this piece is the most sold watch on the planet outside of smartwatches, with millions of units sold each year since its release, and an estimated 120 million Casio F91Ws in circulation. Now, I will say there are straight up better digital Casio watches in the same price range these days. That will never change the fact that the F91W is a cult classic and has been the go-to for a good while, being stylish, affordable, respected, high value, and being on an ultra budget price range that anyone from your average Joe can wear, to even being seen on the wrists of people like bloody Barack Obama. Next up on the list is one of the most loved and iconic watches of all time. It's been worn by royalty, generational fame and huge actors alike, from being seen on Princess Diana's wrist, Muhammad Ali's wrist, Andy Warhol's wrist, and even blimming Kim Kardashian's wrist, to even people like you and me, because it's not actually too expensive. You probably guessed it by now, it's the Cartier Tank. Created in 1917 by Louis Cartier, who designed the watch after the shape of the Renault tanks he saw at the Western Front of World War I. This piece is literally completely timeless, not changing at all since the time it was proposed, and still being one of the most beloved and famous watches of all time, and one of my personal favourites, easily taking my top 5. Next up on the list is the best affordable field watch with a huge following, the Hamilton Khaki Field. This watch has a timeless and wonderfully simple design, but most interestingly is the history behind it. See, Hamilton Watch Company is located in Switzerland now, but it was actually an old American watchmaker based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Due to this, it has great heritage, as in 1914, Hamilton became a military contractor to provide timepieces to the US military for World War I. And in 1942, it became the official watchmaker for the US military, and interestingly, and actually very respectfully, actually stopped manufacturing timepieces for sale to the public to devote all of its attention to the war effort against the Nazi regime. Their production of over 1 million timepieces and precision instruments to the military actually earned them an Army-Navy E-Award for excellence in war production, as well as these years being those that their iconic field watch got the original style and function we all know and love today. Next up is probably the most versatile and timeless watch ever made, the Rolex Explorer. Now this piece is so unbelievably simple as a concept, but with Rolex the delivery is absolutely on point, and many, including myself, would even say that this piece is one of the only watches you could say is actually close to perfection. It's one of the only watches from Rolex that, apart from of course gaining all modern improvements, has stayed completely faithful to its design from 50 years ago, and is still seen as a tool watch rather than what many brands push as luxury watches to show off and boast about. And it's really, really well made. I mean, if taken good care of, the watch will last hundreds of years and still be the perfect sporty or dress watch in any time period because it's just so timeless. Add on to that it's entry level in terms of pricing for luxury watches like Rolex. For example, the more modern 214270 with a retail of $6,550. You really just can't hate on it. They're also one of the only Rolexes that are very easily available and you don't have to go on a wait list for. Up next is a watch you all know and probably have even owned at some point, or at least know someone who has, the Seiko SKX. Now the SKX is actually discontinued and can only be found at prices higher than what you should be paying, sadly. However, that doesn't change how loved it is. It's a simple Rolex sub-style diver with its own design cues that has a reliable movement, a good design, and above all, when it was still in production, it was extremely affordable. To be honest, it was the key to the watch collecting door to so many people, and is probably the most common first watch amongst collectors other than the F91W, which is why I think it's such a legendary and loved piece that has ingrained itself as one of the affordable greats, even though nowadays it is both out of production and can only be found in price ranges with definitely much better watches. But in its prime, this watch was the watch. Next up on the list is a watch with one of the best dials on the market, an innovative movement with high accuracy and one of the only sweeping hands, the Grand Seiko Snowflake. With a case made of high intensity titanium that is more resistant to corrosion and scratches, an absolutely gorgeous dial with the same uneven surface as the mountains near the dial studio in Japan, which is in white to represent the crisp snow that covers them for 6 months of the year, and the spring drive movement, which is, in simplified terms, as accurate as a quartz due to having a quartz crystal, but one that uses that crystal to power the mainspring, so it is actually still a mechanical watch as it doesn't use a battery, although it is also kind of debatable. But it is one of the very few watches with a perfect sweeping hand, great finishing, a gorgeous dial, and all of this for the price of $6,200. So it's pretty easy to see why it's so loved, because like the Rolex Explorer, when it comes to luxury watches, it's on the more affordable end, yet it has so many interesting things going into it. For the second to last watch in today's video, we have the Tudor Black Bay. This watch is loved by many as a more affordable but still luxurious watch that has an appealing vintage design cue, and that is also of course related to Rolex, as Tudor is Rolex's baby sister brand. Not only is this watch loved for the vintage look and feel, but also the vintage proportions, as the Black Bay line comes in sizes fit for larger wrists, but also very wearable sizes for smaller wrists. The design is also pretty timeless, being a very slightly updated and modified version of the release in 1954, and it works as a very classy dressy watch, but also as a sporty watch, and of course a great daily watch too, so it's very, very versatile. You can't really go wrong with a Tudor Black Bay. Last but not least, we have the greatest blank canvas in the watch industry, the Odar Royal Oak. Designed by Gerald Genta, one of the greatest watch designers in history, this stunning piece was introduced in 1972 and was actually the first stainless steel watch marketed as luxury. Before this watch came out, luxury watches were only made in precious metals like platinum, gold and rose gold. Now though, not only is this watch loved for being timeless, having an iconic and amazing design, but it's historically very important. That's because around this time, quartz watches were eliminating the Swiss watchmaking industry and almost caused its end. But the Royal Oak saved the Swiss watch industry and many others followed it, now being inspiration for quite a large portion of the current watch industry, as every single integrated bracelet and every single stainless steel sports watch basically is because of this one. Well, thanks for watching to the end. If you enjoy the content, leave a like and comment any other video ideas you'd like to see in the future. Join the Discord so we can have a chat, and I hope to see you in another one.